Yo, check this out. The rap game ain't just about bars anymore, it's in the courtroom too. Drake, one of the biggest names in hip-hop, is suing his own record label, UMG, after losing one of the wildest rap battles we've seen in years. And the way UMG clapped back, man, they pulled out a 30-page document full of straight-up legal heat. This ain't your typical diss track drama. This is legal beef at its finest, and UMG ain't holding back. They're saying Drake got all emotional after Kendrick Lamar straight up cooked him in their rap war, and now he's trying to use the court system to patch up his pride. But UMG's like, nah fam, we got receipts and you ain't walking away from this clean. Now let's rewind real quick. This whole mess started when Drake decided to quote UMG's CEO Lucian Grange in his lawsuit. The quote, "One false allegation can ruin your reputation." Drake tried to use that to paint himself as the victim, saying Kendrick's diss track Not Like Us made him look bad, and UMG was to blame for pushing it. But UMG spun the block with their own quote, straight from a 15-year-old Drake song called Successful. They pulled the line, "Yeah, I want it all. That's why I strive for it. Diss me, you'll never hear a reply for it." And now they're throwing it right back at him like, didn't you say this? Now look at you suing over a diss you asked for. From the jump, UMG calls the lawsuit straight up nonsense. They say Drake's lawsuit is basically just him salty over losing the rap battle. They break it down. This wasn't some sneak attack. Drake jumped in willingly, pushed the fight, and now he mad cause the internet crowned Kendrick the king. Like, come on. The rap game's always been about beef, from Nas and Jay-Z to Lil Kim and Foxy Brown. And now it's Drake and Kendrick's turn. But instead of keeping it on wax, Drake's taking it to the courts. That's not hip-hop. They go in on Drake's history too. This ain't his first rodeo. He's had beef with Meek Mill, Pusha T, even ghostwriting rumors. He knows how diss tracks work. But now that he's getting roasted in the booth, suddenly it's defamation. UMG says, nah, you can't cry foul now, especially when you drop your own bombs in Family Matters. Like when you clown Kendrick's height, his relationship, and even claim one of his kids might not be his. That's foul. And the wild part, UMG published that too, so how you gonna sue the same label that helped you drop your own diss? But here's where it gets spicy. Drake put out Tailor-Made Freestyle, and this joint had AI versions of Tupac and Snoop Dogg's voices. He used it to bait Kendrick, even saying in Tupac's voice, talk about Drake liking young girls. Like, bruh, you literally told Kendrick to go there. Then you mad when he actually does. That's wild. You handed him the ammo, now you mad he fired shots? UMG's making it crystal clear. Drake opened that door himself. And Kendrick walked right through it with Euphoria and 616. He called Drake out as a scam artist and a manipulator. He said Drake's music puts people to sleep while his electrifies the crowd. Then he clowned Drake's use of Tupac's voice, saying Pac would be rolling in his grave. But the real gut punch, Kendrick took aim at Drake's identity, asking how many black features it'll take before he feels black enough. These weren't just jabs. They were deep cuts and they hit hard. And guess what? It ain't even over yet. Drake came back swinging with Family Matters, unloading, with accusations about Kendrick's family, love life, and alleged abuse. He went full savage mode, even claiming Kendrick's fiance was physically harmed, saying they had to hire PR to cover it up. It was grimy. But UMG's like, you used our platform to say all this and now you want to sue us for letting Kendrick respond? That don't fly. UMG then drops a bombshell. They point out that Kendrick's track, Not Like Us, wasn't some random attack. It was part of a heated battle, and rap beefs are known for going extreme. Exaggeration, wild insults, hyperbole. That's part of the culture. They're basically saying, look, you can't sue someone for playing the same dirty game you played first. They even mentioned that if Drake wins, it could kill freedom in hip-hop because every artist will have to think twice before dropping bars. That ain't what the genre is about. And remember, Drake ain't new to this. Just a few years ago, he signed a petition saying prosecutors shouldn't use lyrics as evidence in court, standing up for artists like Young Thug. But now, he's trying to use lyrics in court himself. That's not just hypocritical, that's backwards. UMG clowns him for switching sides, saying you were right then, but now you wrong. They see through the act. To them, this ain't about justice. It's about Drake trying to save face after taking an L in front of the world. Bottom line, UMG's going for the KO. They're saying this lawsuit is weak. Drake's playing the victim after instigating the whole thing, and if the court actually lets it move forward, it could mess up the entire rap game. They want it dismissed with prejudice, meaning Drake can't come back and try again. No retries, no redo, just game over. All right, let's keep it rolling. We left off with Drake in deep water after Kendrick's lyrical body shots and UMG firing off that 30-page clapback. But trust, things only get messier from here. UMG didn't stop at calling out Drake's hypocrisy. They pulled out a full history book of rap beefs and reminded the court that dissing ain't new. This back and forth is part of hip-hop DNA. From the old school Roxanne wars in the 80s to Nas versus Jay-Z and even Megan versus Nicki, rap beef been here since the jump. So when Drake comes crying to the judge like he got bullied, UMG's just laughing like, bro, you been in this game too long to act brand new. And here's where the roasting reaches a new level. UMG starts listing Drake's beef resume like a LinkedIn profile. Meek Mill, Pusha T, even shots at, yeah, this man lives for drama. Then they zero in on 2023. That's when things got spicy. J. Cole dropped First Person Shooter and threw out the big 3 line. Me, Drake, and Kendrick. Sounds respectful, right? Nah, Kendrick wasn't feeling it. He hit back with like that, spitting F*** the big 3. It's just big me. Boom, that was the spark. Next thing you know, Drake jumps in with push-ups, talking slick about Kendrick's height, chart stats, and calling him a pipsqueak. Man said, I had to hike down the mountain just to talk to you. That's straight heat, but it don't stop there. Drake didn't just diss Kendrick, he threw gasoline on the fire. Impatient that Kendrick hadn't responded fast enough, he drops tailor-made freestyle on Instagram. Now this joint was next level. Drake used AI to fake the voices of Tupac and Snoop Dogg, rapping his bars through legends. Wow. And guess what Tupac's voice says? Talk about Drake liking young girls. Yo, Drake literally asked Kendrick to say it. Like, how are you gonna hand someone the dirtiest ammo possible and then sue them when they use it? That's like telling a boxer where to punch you, then calling the ref when they hit you there. Make it make sense. UMG lays it out clear. Drake instigated the madness and gave Kendrick the green light to take it there. So when Kendrick pulled up with Euphoria and 616 in LA, he wasn't starting the fight. He was responding. And man, did he hit hard. He called Drake a pathetic master manipulator, said his music was soft, and ripped into his authenticity. Kendrick was basically like, you're an actor playing rapper and the mask is slipping. He even clowned the Tupac AI thing, saying Drake was disrespecting the legacy of real ones for clout. And on top of all that, he made it racial too, telling Drake he's been trying too hard to prove he's black enough. That's deep. He wasn't just going for the ego, he was going for the soul. And then Drake, clearly stung, dropped Family Matters. This wasn't a rap response, it was a lyrical lawsuit. He pulled out every personal jab imaginable. He said Kendrick cheats on his fiancée, that he's a bad father, even suggesting one of Kendrick's kids might not be his. He went low, then lower. Even accused Kendrick of domestic abuse and said his team had to hire a PR crisis unit to clean it up. That's dark. UMG's point. You were dishing dirt just as nasty. How you going to act brand new now? Like seriously, if you came out swinging with a flamethrower, you can't complain when you get scorched back. UMG even brought up how Drake previewed Family Matters days before he dropped it, meaning it was premeditated. So if anyone was planning this beef like a strategy, it was Drake. He already had disses locked and loaded while pretending to wait on Kendrick. That's like playing chess with the pieces hidden in your pocket. And remember, UMG published that track too. They helped distribute both diss records. Drake got his shots off with their support, and now he's blaming them for doing the same for Kendrick. That's double standards at its worst. And yo, it wasn't just petty name calling and Family Matters. Drake made threats too, gun bars, violent imagery, talking about emptying clips and handing out beatdowns. One line straight up says, you're dead, there's nowhere to hide. Now hold up. How are you gonna sue Kendrick for violent lyrics and Not Like Us when you literally said stuff like that? UMG's argument is airtight. Both sides went heavy. And if Drake's bars are protected as artistic expression, so are Kendrick's. If you let this lawsuit slide, you'd have to cancel half the rap game overnight. Then comes Kendrick with the two-piece combo, Meet the Grams and Not Like Us. Meet the Grams went personal, straight for Drake's family, but Not Like Us, that was the knockout punch. He mocked Drake's OVO brand, called him a predator, and said he shouldn't be allowed near minors. He even referenced rumors about Millie Bobby Brown in an old video where Drake acted weird with a young fan on stage. And let's not ignore it, those rumors have been floating for years. UMG makes sure the court knows that too. They're saying Kendrick didn't invent those allegations. He just brought them into the battle. Public info, old headlines, and Drake's own bars opened the door. And look, UMG wasn't trying to let Drake play victim. They said flat out, if your own lyrics said, talk about me liking young girls, and the other guy does it, you can't sue. That's like passing the rock and then crying when someone scores on you. UMG backed this with legal fire too, saying Kendrick's bars were clearly exaggerated, metaphorical, and part of the rap beef culture, not meant to be taken as hard facts. They even listed Kendrick's violent metaphors and compared them to Drake's own. Both rappers talked about guns, violence, and drama. Ain't no choir boys here. What really seals it? UMG pointed out that Drake actually expected Kendrick to bring up the accusations. In The Heart Part 6, Drake literally says, "This Epstein angle was the stuff I expected." That's a confession. He knew it was coming and now he's mad. Nah, you can't have it both ways. It's like trash talking before the game and then saying it wasn't fair when the other team scores. And UMG didn't stop there. They had to rub in the fact that Kendrick won, like it wasn't even close. Not Like Us went viral, 6 billion streams, broke all kinds of records, and even cleaned up at the Grammys. It hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, went crazy on TikTok, and had the whole world chanting, "They not like us." They even brought receipts from Rolling Stone and The New Yorker. One article said, "Has there ever been a clearer loser than Drake?" Sheesh, that's gotta sting. Drake didn't just lose a rap battle, he lost it in public on every platform from Spotify to Saturday Night Live. UMG's point is loud and clear. Kendrick made a track, you made one too. Both had dirty lines, both made threats, both hit below the belt. But when the smoke cleared, Kendrick stood tall, and now you want to rewrite the rules? Nah, bro, court ain't therapy for a bruised ego. You swung first, you lost. End of story. All right, now let's talk about how this beef didn't just play out on streaming platforms. It's being dissected bar for bar in a freaking courtroom. That's right. The same lyrics that had Twitter in shambles and fans screaming he cooked are now printed in legal docs word for word. And UMG, man, they turned this legal filing into the pettiest rap breakdown you've ever seen. They're quoting lyrics, dissecting flows, and treating this like a murder trial. But the weapon, microphones. So UMG starts off by giving the judge a quick history lesson. They remind the court that rap disses go way back, like decades. These ain't new tactics. Dissing opponents in music is part of the genre's foundation. It's raw, it's emotional, and yeah, sometimes it's savage, but what it ain't, according to UMG, is criminal. They're saying diss tracks have always had exaggerated bars and over-the-top claims. Nobody thinks every lyric is literal, so Kendrick calling Drake a predator, that's just rap talk, not a factual accusation. And that's the hill UMG's planting their flag on. But here's where the case gets wild. UMG brings up the fact that Drake himself used their platform to drop his accusations. They ain't just defending Kendrick here. They're saying, yo, we published both of y'all. Drake's Family Matters track, which was distributed by UMG, included claims that Kendrick abused his fiancée, cheated on her, and had a kid with another man. That's some tabloid level tea. And yet Drake was fine with using UMG to get that out to the world. Now suddenly he's got a problem? UMG's response, that's rich. The court docs go into full storytelling mode. They detail how Drake came at Kendrick with lines like, "Why'd you move to New York, living that bachelor life?" Then claimed one of Kendrick's kids might be fathered by his manager, Dave Free. Wild accusations, and UMG published that, no problem. But now Drake wants to sue over Kendrick's Not Like Us? The hypocrisy is front and center. UMG is like, bro, you threw punches too. What, you think you're the only one allowed to swing? And here's the real twist. UMG makes the case that all of this from both sides falls under rhetorical hyperbole. That's legal speak for, it's just talk, not fact. They argue that Drake's lawsuit doesn't hold water because nobody's taking Kendrick's lyrics as real-life accusations. Same way nobody believed Drake actually emptied a clip on someone or that Kendrick would literally pull up on his house. It's all bars, hard bars, sure, but still bars. In the rap world, exaggeration is the whole point. If artists couldn't use that freedom, the whole genre would be watered down. UMG even uses Drake's own words to back this up. Remember that petition from a few years ago? The one against prosecutors using rap lyrics in court? Yeah, Drake signed that. He was fighting for Young Thug and others getting jammed up by their bars being taken as evidence. Drake said himself, lyrics are imagination, not real confessions. Fast forward to 2025 and this same dude is trying to treat Kendrick's lyrics like legal threats. UMG is calling it out, saying, you were right then, but now you're wrong. Straight up. And yo, you think that'd be enough? Oh, but nope. UMG came even harder. They broke down how Kendrick's Not Like Us used metaphors, humor, and satire to go after Drake. It wasn't a lecture, it was entertainment. They point out that the music video shows Kendrick swinging a bat at an owl piñata with a sign saying no OVOs were harmed during filming. Come on, that's clearly a joke. They also note how the album cover, that viral shot of Drake's mansion covered in S. Offender matte pens, was obviously fake, a parody. Nobody really believes that's a Gov at watch list. Still, Drake added that as a core part of his lawsuit. UMG said, nah man, you can't sue over a joke. They argued that the visual and lyrical content of Not Like Us was meant to clown Drake, not accuse him of crimes. Just like cartoons exaggerate real people, these disses stretch the truth for effect. Kendrick ain't the first to do it, and he won't be the last. But if this case actually goes through, it sets a scary standard for artists everywhere. That's what UMG's really protecting. Not just Kendrick, but the freedom of every rapper who ever wants to clap back. Now let's talk about this so-called harassment charge. Drake's claiming that Kendrick's track isn't just a diss, it's harassment, and it allegedly endangered his life. He's even linking a shooting near his house to the release of Not Like Us. But UMG shuts that down quick. They argue that the harassment law Drake is using doesn't even apply to speech. Plus, it's a criminal law. Meaning if Drake really thought this was harassment, he should have gone to the cops, not civil court. They basically call it a legal Hail Mary. Desperate and flimsy. But wait, there's more. Drake also says UMG broke New York's business laws by manipulating how Not Like Us was promoted, claiming they used bots, fake plays, and paid promo to make it blow up. And where did he get that info? A random anonymous voice on a Twitch stream with DJ Akademiks. Yep, that's his source. UMG laughed at that and hit back with facts. Even if bots were used, the guy on the stream blamed Kendrick's manager, not UMG or Interscope. Then they dropped the hammer. Drake already agreed to remove those claims, but still left them in his lawsuit anyway. That's shady. UMG calls the whole stream fraud accusation bogus. They say Kendrick's track didn't blow up because of tricks. It popped because it was a banger. It was already #1 on Billboard, crushed Spotify, and broke TikTok. They even say Rolling Stone named it the biggest moment in music for 2024. You don't fake that kind of cultural moment. People were dancing to it, memeing it, quoting it. That's organic. UMG's like, stop hating. Your track didn't do the same numbers, but don't act like we cheated. And one final shot, UMG pulls out legal standards about defamation. To win a case like this, Drake would need to prove that Kendrick made knowingly false statements with actual malice. That means Kendrick would have had to know his bars weren't just wrong, but intended to destroy Drake's rep with lies. But there's no proof of that. Everything Kendrick said was based on existing rumors, public articles, and even Drake's own lyrics. Kendrick just added rhythm and rhymes. So to sum it up, UMG's not just defending Kendrick, they're defending the whole genre. They're saying if Drake wins this case, it'll wreck the freedom of expression in hip-hop. Disses would have to be clean, safe, and lawyer approved. And that ain't rap, that's censorship. It's like telling battle rappers they can't raise their voice. Come on now, this is war with words, always has been. We're now deep in the trenches of this legal showdown, and UMG still ain't letting up. At this point, they've dropped so many receipts and legal haymakers that it feels more like a courtroom roast session than a lawsuit response. They're not just defending themselves. They're building a case that could protect the entire rap industry from getting muzzled by sensitive artists who take things personal when they lose a lyrical war. And guess what? Drake's making it real easy for them. So let's break this part down. The defamation charge. UMG comes out swinging, saying flat out, Drake's claim doesn't hit the legal mark. Why? Because Kendrick's bars in Not Like Us don't count as factual statements. They're opinion, satire, performance, all protected under the First Amendment. UMG explains that for something to count as defamation, it has to be a false statement, clearly about someone, and published with real malicious intent, and not just, I don't like you vibes. They gotta prove that the person was trying to lie and destroy reputations. Now look, Drake's a public figure. That means the rules are even stricter for him. Courts give extra room to criticize celebs, politicians, and artists because they're in the spotlight by choice. If Kendrick had said, I saw Drake commit this crime, here's the proof, that's a different story. But lyrics like, he moves like a predator or hide your sister from him are obviously performative. That's what UMG is pushing hard. The idea that all of this is rhetorical hyperbole. It's all part of the rap game where you exaggerate to entertain, not to testify. UMG even throws in court examples where similar lawsuits got tossed. One example, actor Michael Rappaport once sued Barstool Sports for saying he had herpes and beat his ex, but because it was said during a wild diss track and public feud, the court said those insults were just exaggerated trash talk, not facts. And guess what? UMG says that same logic applies here. This ain't a documentary. This is rap beef. People listening know it's entertainment, not evidence. So when Kendrick dropped Not Like Us and went scorched earth, it was seen as performance art, not a press conference. And yo, this next part is pure legal flex. UMG breaks down how courts decide if something is opinion or fact. They ask questions like, can the statement be proven true or false? Does it sound like a literal claim? What's the full context? And in Kendrick's case, UMG's like, none of these bars are meant to be taken literally. They're part of a song filled with clowning, metaphors, and wordplay. It's not an interview. It's not a legal doc. It's rap. They go even deeper, talking about the music video. Kendrick's video shows him beating an owl piñata, a jab at Drake's OVO brand, with a disclaimer on the screen. No OVOs were harmed during filming. Come on now, that's comedy. It's satire. You really think Kendrick's telling people to actually attack owls? Obviously not. That video is full of cartoonish vibes and playful disses. It ain't meant to be taken as a serious threat. UMG says no reasonable viewer would believe that Kendrick literally wants violence. It's theatrical exaggeration, plain and simple. Then they mentioned the album cover for Not Like Us, which shows Drake's Toronto mansion with predator pins on it, like those online maps where they mark off areas near offenders. Drake says that image hurt his rep, but UMG says again it's just satire, a parody. The pins were clearly fake. Nobody sane would think that's a real government document. It's just Kendrick taking the beef visual. UMG argues that people know the difference between diss track drama and actual criminal claims. And if courts start treating lyrics like legal evidence, every battle rapper gonna need a lawyer before they spit. UMG even points out that Not Like Us was the last track in a string of diss records, part of an ongoing war where both sides threw dirt. It didn't come out of nowhere. This wasn't Kendrick bullying Drake. It was a full-on back and forth, and the audience knew it. Fans were waiting for every new drop like episodes of a Netflix series. That's what makes the context important. Both artists were throwing bombs, so no one side can suddenly play victim when the crowd starts cheering for the other guy. And here's the funniest part. UMG reminds everyone that the rumors about Drake's creepy moments with underage girls, that stuff was already online for years. They bring up old headlines and viral clips like that awkward moment Drake brought a girl on stage and said she looked good, only to find out she was 17. Or the friendship with Millie Bobby Brown when she was just 14 and he was sending her texts. That ain't Kendrick's invention. That was already part of public discussion. So when Kendrick references it in a diss, he's not making stuff up. He's recycling what's already out there. And the coldest move, UMG shows that Drake himself acknowledged all of this. In The Heart Part 6, he raps about expecting the Epstein angle and denies messing with minors, saying, "I'd never look twice at a teenager." That bar right there proves Kendrick's words didn't surprise him. He saw it coming. So now he can't act like he was blindsided or attacked out of nowhere. He literally said he anticipated it. That's game over for the defamation argument. UMG brings it back to the big picture. They say Kendrick didn't lie, didn't act with malice, and didn't make statements of fact. Everything he said was couched in the language of rap. Metaphors, wordplay, exaggeration, and all of it came after Drake opened the door. So how can Drake cry foul now? It's like talking trash in a boxing match, then suing the other fighter for punching back. What makes it worse for Drake is that UMG distributed his diss tracks too. So if Kendrick's song is defamation, what does that make Family Matters? A saintly hymn? Nah. That track had bars about domestic abuse, cheating, fatherhood drama, and even some threats. If anything, Family Matters was nastier. Yet Drake didn't see a problem when it was his turn to speak. It's only when the crowd started chanting Kendrick won that the lawsuit started flying. UMG's making it crystal clear this lawsuit ain't about protecting Drake's name, it's about ego. It's about taking an L and trying to clean it up through lawyers instead of bars. But the thing is, the court don't work like that. You can't use the justice system to fix a PR nightmare you created yourself. Especially when you started the beef, handed out the insults, and told the other guy to go for your neck. At the end of the day, UMG's defense isn't just about saving Kendrick or even saving their own neck. It's about protecting the culture. They're saying loud and clear, if this case moves forward, the whole rap game is in danger. It sets a precedent that any artist can sue the moment they get embarrassed in a beef. And if that happens, you can kiss goodbye to real battle rap, diss tracks, or lyrical smoke. Everything would need to be G-rated and lawyer approved. All right, now we at the final stretch, and UMG's closing arguments hit harder than a Mike Tyson uppercut. They're basically saying, yo, we didn't just win the rap beef, we're winning the legal one too. Drake's lawsuit is looking weak about a page, and UMG's making it clear this whole thing is just him trying to clean up the L he took from Kendrick. And trust, they ain't letting him slide without a full expose of every twist and contradiction in his case. Let's talk intent. To win a defamation lawsuit, you gotta prove that the other side acted with actual malice. That means Kendrick or UMG would have to know their claims were false and still said them to purposely damage Drake's name. But here's the kicker. UMG says Drake can't prove any of that. Not only was Kendrick speaking in the language of battle rap, where exaggeration is standard, but the stuff he said wasn't pulled out of thin air. The allegations he referenced already existed in the public eye. There were old viral videos, articles, and even debates in the media long before Kendrick dropped those bars. So the claim that Kendrick invented it all to slander Drake, that falls apart fast. Then UMG breaks down what they call a double standard. Drake used the same label to promote Family Matters, a track where he accused Kendrick of being abusive, a cheater, and not the father of his own kid. That song went hard and went personal, yet Drake didn't call that defamation. He was fine with UMG pushing it then, but now that the roles are flipped, he wants to cry foul? Nah, UMG calls that out as straight hypocrisy. They take it even further. Now we get into the harassment claim. Drake's trying to say that Not Like Us isn't just a diss, it's harassment that could have led to real-life violence. He links a shooting near his house to the track's release and accuses Kendrick and UMG of fanning the flames. But UMG fires back, saying the law Drake's using doesn't even apply here. It's a criminal law. Meaning if Drake really thought he was in danger, he should have gone to the police, not filed a civil lawsuit. UMG is basically saying, stop weaponizing the court because you caught a loss in public. And here's where UMG really unloads. They flipped Drake's own lawsuit on him. Remember how he claimed UMG tried to devalue his brand to gain leverage during contract negotiations? That's a wild accusation, but even crazier, it don't make no sense. UMG explains that making your own artist look bad just before renewing a contract is like torching your own money. Why would they want their own golden goose to lose value? Kendrick's diss track might have hurt Drake's ego, but in the real world, controversy drives clicks. And if anything, the drama made both artists even more relevant and profitable. UMG then dives into the wildest part of Drake's complaint, the whole bot streaming theory. Drake accused UMG of using bots and fake promotion to boost Not Like Us, saying that's how it blew up. His proof? An anonymous dude on Twitch claiming Kendrick's team paid him to fake streams. But get this, even that guy never mentioned UMG or Interscope. He said Kendrick's manager, not the label. UMG points out that Drake knew this, admitted it privately, and promised to remove it from his complaint, but still left it in. That's shady legal games. And now UMG's making sure the court knows all about it. They completely dismantle that whole argument. UMG shows that Not Like Us ain't some bot-made hit. It was a straight-up cultural nuke. The track didn't just top Billboard, it shattered records. It was streamed billions of times, went viral on TikTok, got played at sports arenas, and Kendrick even performed it at the Super Bowl. It was nominated for 5 Grammys and won all 5. You don't fake that. You can't buy that kind of cultural weight. It was the people who made it huge, not bots. Then UMG checks Drake again, saying even if the label did pay for promo, which is standard in the music industry, there's zero evidence that it misled consumers or caused harm to Drake. Just saying something was chart-topping isn't false if the numbers back it up, and guess what? They did. If anything, Drake's the one sounding like a sore loser, saying the only reason Kendrick's track popped was because of industry tricks. UMG calls that weak, and the court probably will too. They also slammed Drake's claim that every time Not Like Us got radio play, he lost a spot for his own songs. UMG calls that wildly speculative. Like, bro, you're not the only artist in the world competing for airtime. That's just how the game works. Sometimes you're hot, sometimes someone else is. And when your rival just dropped a historic diss record, yeah, you're gonna get bumped. That ain't illegal. That's just how music moves. And as UMG starts to wrap things up, they remind the court, and everyone reading this case about what's really at stake. This ain't just about Drake versus Kendrick. This is about protecting the right for artists to express themselves, especially in a genre that was built on battles, bars, and call-outs. If this lawsuit gets taken seriously, it'll open the door for any artist to cry defamation every time someone says something mean on a track. That could kill rap beef as we know it. No more ether, no more back-to-back, no more hit 'em up. You'd have to rap like you're scared of lawyers instead of proud of your pen. UMG ends the document with a message that feels more like a mic drop than a legal statement. They say, plain and simple, this case ain't about justice. It's about Drake trying to save face. He lit the fire, poured the gas, and when it all blew up in his face, he went running to the court instead of back to the booth. But that's not how rap works. You don't sue your way out of an L, you rap your way out. And since Drake didn't do that, maybe he really did lose. And now it's all up to the judge. If this case gets tossed, which UMG is pushing for, it'll send a strong message that diss tracks are still safe territory. But if it somehow moves forward, it'll change the rules of rap forever. Either way, the eyes of the industry are watching. And Drake, he's learning the hard way that when you step into a lyrical war, especially with a monster like Kendrick, you better be ready to take everything that comes with it, because once it's out there, there's no rewind button.